Hello, hello. Welcome to another very special edition of How to Do X and Y. Today, we are going to try to turn this entire app that we have. It's not too big right now, but I've been working a lot with hooks lately and making my all my components function on React. So we are going to try to change this entire app into from class. Most of them are class-based right now. We define state like so. We have our lifecycle method here, but we are going to try to flip this over into making everything functional. This is currently functional right here with a useEffect hook, but I believe most of the other ones that we see or login is all class-based, and hooks are the way of the future, so let's embrace them. Just to show you that the app is still working, my backend is on Django, and we're able to log in. We get a welcome the user right there, pass our token in, and then we see all the, I was kind of fooling around, but we see all of our hikes right here, flex like that. This is just like a hiking trails app. There's also the sign up thing down there that we were playing around with a little bit earlier. I'm going to leave the back end running, but maybe shut down the React app right there. And the first thing that we should do, instead of from React, we need to bring in useState as a hook as opposed to component. And that still comes with, I think, React 17, I believe, is comes standard with the use or out of the box useState, and change that to function app extends, or we don't even need extends component like that. And even, I don't know, some people have, so this export default is down here. I kind of like it down there because that's like the export. The top of the app right here is really routed in here, rendering between our router, our app, like so, and then passing it down from up here, our app. And so we change that to function app and invoke the function. And I'll keep this export default down there. Some people do have export default like that, and then obviously get rid of it down there. But we'll just do function app like so. And we can get rid of, can just comment it out there for now and eventually delete it. And same as well with the component did mount, and I still kind of like just commenting out so we can see what we have. And then we also need to bring in a useEffect hook like this, and this will actually be the top, or maybe we'll define state here at the top. So instead of having state equals these key value pairs, we've consonant. Actually, sorry, when you do function app like so, you can get rid of this render line right here, as well as the opening it up. Get rid of that there, get rid of the end bracket there, and just have return like so. And then we can bring this all over here to indent it correctly. And our linter picked up that instead of having just functions like that, we need to define them as consonants like this. And we'll come down back to the return line and the render line later. But those are all now consonants as our functions. And then now let's do const an array of a user and set user like so equals useState and a empty object like that. So instead of having state equals these key value pairs, like we said, we just have a const of a user and then the set user, and then whatever useState like that is bringing in the hook. And this is what it will initialize as an empty object to start. And same thing with our empty arrays. We'll have a equals useState empty array like this. These could also be booleans or anything that really, any primitive object type, I guess, you could have. And we'll have an all trails and set all trails like this. And then the same thing for all reviews. All reviews and set all reviews. And so now it's just a different format of bringing in state. We'll no longer have state defined like that, and we're just bringing in the hook as an empty array, similar to what we were doing here. And on our component did mount, instead of doing component did mount, we'll do, maybe I'll keep it all right here. We'll have a useEffect hook, which we brought in up there. And this equals a callback function of opening it up. And similar to, so if there's a local storage token, if that evaluates to true, if this is a Boolean statement, if it's true, then we want to fetch our models. Fetch models and invoke the function like this. And then our dependencies are going to be an empty array. And I did try to play around a little bit of having like all trails. So every time all trails updates, fetch the models, but really that Boolean statement isn't correct for that. And so I think this has to just be an empty array like that. And so if there is a token in local storage, if that evaluates to true, if it sees a value there, then fetch our models. And our fetch models right here, these are all going to be okay. We don't need to change anything on these except this, when you're using a functional component, no longer is required. None of our functions are attached to this, so the keyword gets brought out. And that goes for everything, but even we're not setting state anymore. So all of our fetches are going to be the exact same, look the exact same. We still fetch from our backend. Our backend is right here. Fetch to the profile URL, pass in the token, parse the response, and then instead of doing this.set state and set the user with result, we just do set all users, or yes, set user, so that matches with the result. So the set user right here matches that variable name there. So if we pass it a fetch from the URL, hit the endpoint and parse the response, and then the result is going to set the user state right here, and this empty object would get filled with whatever the user is. Same thing down here pretty much. We want to set all trails with the result. So now our empty array will get filled with all the trails after fetching the endpoint and passing in the correct token. And then finally, our last state, set all reviews with the result, like so. And I think everything with our login function, yeah, we're not setting state with the login. We're just hitting that login URL, posting to that. So that should be fine. And these all can get removed as, so we're no longer attaching this.state to our variables. So we're just using these variable names right here. So this.state on all of these can get removed, and we're just props are still kind of the same. It's just how we pass them down. Our user equals our user state right here, but all you have to call is that variable name right there. So this .state can get removed, and then same here, rather than attaching this dot to all of our functions that we define, we just remove that. And now our functions are just names like that. And the variables are just attached to these like so. So now we can get rid of all that. And I think this part should be pretty much complete. We just new way defining state. Our use effect kicks in if there's a local storage token in there, if that value is to true, and then all of these stayed the same except we changed a little bit of we parse the response and then set the state using, rather than set state, we're just calling on that part of the state, or that part of the functionality of it, and then passing down the props like so are pretty much the same, except we don't need to tie this to it. And so our login route here, or let's, I guess, go to the private route first. So this is already functional, but still it's kind of the same. We pass on a user just as user. You don't need to attach this to it. Into our private route. So this is already functional, so we're not changing state or anything like that. So we can pass down these props the same way that we did, I think. So now going down into our home page here, still functional. We had to have this use effect hook because we were kind of getting some weird stuff with changing the user state and stuff like that. So that should be fine. Our props.user is still fine, but then we pass down to the cards container here. This we'll want to change to function. I guess we just do function cards container and invoke it. And we're not extending the component anymore. And so we can get rid of this here, and we don't need to, we're not really changing state or anything. So we can get rid of, we don't need to bring in the hook up there. You get rid of that render line there and that there. Move all this over one tab, even two tabs. Oh, it looks like it's a heavy tab there, but rather than, so again, we're passing down the all trails as a prop, but it's no longer attached to this. So we need to bring in props as a variable there, and then remove this like that. And then two, props is usually, you'll see it a lot destructured. Instead of that, where we can just destructure all trails like that, and then we can remove we can remove props there and match them up like so, that we just structured so that we brought in all trails as a prop. And rather than defining prop, we just destructured it and bring it in like so. I think that's all. Going up one level again to our home page, we just, all trails is brought down as a prop. And we could do like the same thing here, like all trails, destructure it, and all reviews. Instead, we'll just, and we're not even using that prop there, so maybe that could even be deleted since it's not getting passed down. But into our cards container, we're passing down just the all trails, and we're mapping through it as a prop, and then each individual trail passed down to the trail card, which too is already a functional component. And so we don't need to change anything on here. These are, again, just functional components, and so, or a functional component. So we should be fine as here. I guess the last one will just be this login one that we saw. So from our app, we had also this, we had private route, which we were passing down stuff, but we also have our login route and our login component. So we can change this, and maybe to keep it consistent, bring this down here. Export default login. And we need to bring in, since we have state defined there, we're going to have to define state here. Function login. And I don't think that we need to, yeah, we're not really passing down props anywhere, so we don't need to bring in props here. However, we will need to get rid of the render line there. and get rid of that there. Bring all of this over as an indentation like that. And then these are constants. And rather than attaching them to this, we have to do like that. And then same thing that we saw on our as our state, like here, we could probably even bring those here. And this is our username and set username. And we want those to be empty strings rather than an object like that. And same with our password. Set password and useState is still an empty string. And so our handle submit, we're not, oh, we need to bring, I guess we did pass down a props. So I need to bring in props here, and we're passing down that login function right here. So hopefully, yeah, login equals login like that. And we can do the same thing here, even since we're not bringing in that much, we can destructure login up here and remove that. And not tied to this dot state, but we'll come back to that. But this, the value here is going to be tied to this rather than this dot state. It's going to be tied to this username and password like so. And then I've just seen on change as an event like this equals set username and event, or that e dot target dot value, and the parentheses. And then same thing for the password. On change takes an event, and we're going to set the password with whatever the set password is. And same with event.target, and then and the JSX with closing it off like so. So, and that just got rid of that. Well, just since it's so short, we're just calling that set username and set password. We'll just get rid of that there. So we're no longer bringing in, there's only 2 of them, so might as well just throw them in like that. And then this will correctly pass in the on change, whatever the user types in, and then the value as whatever the user types in as a set username and password. So the only thing that we need to kind of, I guess, a little bit, what I don't know for sure, is our handle submit. It's no longer attached to this, so we'll get rid of that. And that calls the function, and handle submit takes in the login prop like so. And last time we called this dot state, but that's not going to be correct here. And I'm not quite sure. I don't know if you can, if we'll just invoke the function like this. I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll see if see what we have going on, and maybe we'll get a good error to let us know what we have. I guess so. It did log us in. We have our token in here, but let's try to log out and log in as admin. So it looks like our on change is correctly working. Yeah, it cannot read props of undefined. So this, and maybe I definitely can't read this dot props. So let's take that out and bring in props and do props.login and props.history.push. Get rid of this and see what we got. So our token is undefined. Try logging in again. Yeah, all trails.map is not a function. Well, yeah. So I'm going to pause and do a little bit of debugging and be right back. Okay, I was able to crack it. I forgot. So originally we just tried props.login here. Let's refresh it. And this again isn't going to work. But just so you can see how I debugged it, we got an undefined token. So props is, or the login function is expecting a user. And we, in our login, we didn't pass in a user. And so we were able to call this .state. So here, let's try in passing it the username and password like so. And again, clear out the undefined token. Again, this isn't going to work. So we got an undefined token. I think our backend is going to show, yeah, it's blocking us out. And if you go over to the network here, so the login, should see in the response, yeah, right here is perfect. Expected a dictionary, but got a string. So we did pass it. I think we passed it admin just as a string, I guess only admin. I don't even know if you pass it the password. So, and it's expecting a dictionary according to the world of Django. So we can make this into a object like that. And now we're passing in a username and password like so. And let's clear this out again. And log in as admin. And there we go. Now we pass it a correct token and we didn't get a bunch of red on our back end. We were able to post to the login route and get our reviews, and everything looks basically the exact same that we saw before, but all of our components now are all functional. We can get rid of that there. We have our passing in username and password like this. We could, I think now we can destructure. We did it once. I'll probably fix that up later, but we could destructure that. Oh, as well. Whoops. Destructure login like that, and we can remove the props right there. And do we need to also, yeah, probably, I guess, also do history like so. Let's make sure that we still are okay on everything. Login as admin and push to this endpoint right here. We wouldn't be able to hit this endpoint without a successful token. And all of we have these hooks and everything is functional. The one difference, the one thing that people don't like about using hooks is if we go to our developer tools and on our app, we just have these hooks here. And before we had state, like we'd be able to see user as like a key value pair. And now all of our state is just defined as state, and then we have our useEffect hook there. So it's not really, it's the developer tools, which one thing they really should somehow be able to distinguish between state, because if you have a really big app, I guess you could use Redux, but it's kind of hard to differentiate if you aren't using Redux. These look like our reviews right here. Someone was submitting reviews, and these are all our trails there, and then this is our user state like this. So thanks again for joining me. Hope you learned something and were able to now make your components functional, I will push this up to GitHub and put the link in the YouTube description. Thanks again.